ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. In this video, let us examine what is loneliness and what is the cure for such loneliness. In fact, loneliness is a blessing if you are able to embrace it and rejoice in it. As normally people cannot do it, it becomes a root cause for your restlessness and emptiness. So, this feeling of loneliness makes us an incomplete individual, and that you must do something or find someone to fill up that deep valley of loneliness. So, another cause for the loneliness, people say, is absence of passion in life. That also one of the reasons for loneliness. That's what the people say. In this regard, what I would like to share is loneliness. The root cause for loneliness is it's a life of directionless or pointless life. When you lead, then this feeling of loneliness arises. So, in this connection, the famous US writer, one of the famous American writers, her name is Edith Wharton. So, she believed that the cure for loneliness was not always to have a company or to be in company of others, but to find a way to be happy with your own company. Further, she also beautifully said, the cure for this misery of loneliness is to decorate your inner house with the richness of contentment. So, then you are glad to welcome anybody, and they can stay in your company whatever the time they feel they could spend with you, and they may leave, but you continue to be happy unaffected in the subsequent inevitable loneliness. So, very beautifully she said the remedies for loneliness. So, just like desires, fulfillment of desires create more desires. If you fill that gap, or if you want to overcome the loneliness by developing relationships and companionships, it may help to some extent, but when such relationships become the center of your life and you have to maintain them with great personal inconvenience. So, whatever the company you want to have, to overcome the loneliness, so it carries this kind of personal inconveniences. So, as already said, to overcome the loneliness, the common wisdom says that you must do something or fill that gap, that deep valley of loneliness with someone else. This is what the common wisdom says. Do something or fill with someone through relationships. But from a yogic perspective, when you see all these measures, they will be called only as temporary measures. That will not give you the desired solace, peace and tranquility from loneliness. Because whenever such companionships or relationships are absent, loneliness again haunts such people. So, from a yogic or from the point of view of yoga, when you consider the loneliness as a beautiful opportunity to reflect on yourself, to inquire into your own self and contemplate on the source of yourself, then the flowers of wisdom blossom. So, when you declutter your mind from all the illusions, you begin to realize the lasting happiness, the eternal bliss. You realize yourself that you are beyond all what you grieve, what you crave for. You are an eternal being of the divinity. So, when you start flying in that higher dimensions of divinity, the lower dimension of loneliness falls away, far away from yourself. So, you should maintain that kind of mindfulness and awareness in that loneliness. When you can maintain that mindfulness and awareness, those are the moments to realize your own company with which you were sailing since eternity. So, when you start your inward journey with awareness, then the center of awareness lifts you up to the Supreme Being, and they say it is called supreme liberation, and they also say it is called Kaivalya. Kaivalya means dwelling blissfully in your own company. That is Kaivalya. So, what is it which is coming in between your own self and your present state of loneliness, your present state of feeling of loneliness? It is because of the deep valley or chasm which exists between your intellect, conditioned intellect, and the soul. So, when you start decluttering your mind, turning inward, then the intellect gets purified and become equal to the purity of soul. So, when that deep valley between intellect and soul begins to bridge upon themselves, then you can experience the higher dimensions of divinity which manifest in your consciousness. And when you start living in the awareness of that consciousness, peace, bliss begin to flow unceasingly in you, and the aspect of the feeble aspect of loneliness disappears, and the flower of purity of the soul blossoms, which always dwells in bliss with itself, and that is the state of being alone. You begin to love and dwell in your loneliness. You find it an opportunity to turn inward and dwell in that divine consciousness. So, thank you.